Hello, everybody. Benjamin Penavent speaking. I hope you are very fine. And today, as you know, we are doing our first station of digital learning trip. Indeed, in a normal time, we should have met already Omar Bendjelloun, who is investment director at INCO, and also is president or co-president at Paris Impact Investing, which is an NGO federating all the impact investing in Paris mainly, but maybe a bit bigger in France in general. So he has a very nice and interesting experience with a general and global experience and point of view. So it's quite precious for us. It's quite precious for you, dear students. So we will spend about 45 minutes, 50 minutes together. So Omar will present himself, of course, INCO, Paris Impact Investing. We are very glad to welcome him today. It's very nice for him to take a moment during this very strange COVID-19 period, so it's quite precious for us. Of course, I will try to reply some of your questions if you have students, and also if you have a lot of important question, we can send by email to Omar, of course.
Yeah, no problem, of course.
Very happy to reply. So Omar, one more time, thanks a lot for being here. Thanks a lot for sharing your time with us. And I let you the floor for presentation and then some question all together, of course. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone is fine. So my name is Omar. I work as investment officer at INCO, which is an impact investing fund we're going to talk about. And I'm also one of the founders of the Paris Impact Investing Association. So maybe first of all, I can tell you a bit about my background, how I came to being an investor in INCO. So I left school in 2016, and I started. My first job was at France Active, which is one of the oldest investors in France, a pioneer. And it's actually a network of investors. There are 40 funds in different cities and regions in France, and I was working at the Parisian fund, Paris Initiative Entreprise, and I was an analyst. So it often starts like this in impact investing. You're first an analyst, then an associate or investment officer, and then a director, etc. So I spent 2.5 years, 3 years in France Active, which were great. I really learned the basics of financial analysis, things you learn at school with Ben, but I guess it's always very useful to do it on the ground. And then 2 years ago, I joined INCO as an investment officer, and I'm going to explain a little bit what my job is. So is that enough, Ben? Do you want me to tell more things about my background before presenting what I do at INCO?
It's good at the moment, but probably we can develop a bit later. No worries for the moment. It's fine.
Great. So what I do at INCO is very simple. We actually do three things. It's the first thing is sourcing, like finding deals to invest in. The second thing is due diligence. This means like deep diving into some opportunities to assess if it's interesting or not to make a deal. And the third thing is support. It's being with entrepreneurs all year long, in the good times and the bad times, to help them with their different topics. Generally, it's how to handle very big growth, very high growth. So these are the three things: sourcing, which is also called deal flow, finding deal flow. The second thing is due diligence, and the third thing is supporting entrepreneurs. And it's actually different in some funds. Like these three things, you always find these three things, but generally it's not always like some funds spend more time supporting entrepreneurs, and some of the funds have a very big portfolio, and then like they prefer making new deals and not spending too much time with each entrepreneur. Each fund has its strategy. We're kind of the middle in INCO. We have a very large portfolio, but we I'd say half of our time is dedicated to supporting entrepreneurs. So yeah, what I can do is tell you a bit more about these three jobs, and then maybe talk a little bit about my other occupation, which is Paris Impact Investing. So first thing is deal flow. I guess it's one of the things that differentiates you in the scene, because it's a very competitive market, as you may know. VC and investing in general, is challenging because in this period there's a lot of money around. A lot of funds are chasing the same deals. Especially in impact, we have a lot of new announcements. We have a lot of funds which are being created with the assets under management that are growing very fast. But we're not sure that there's as many startups and potential deals, quality deals, to satisfy all this money and these funds. So that's why it's a competitive scene. And the first job is really to create very qualitative links. You have to create your own network, find the entrepreneurs that before others do. And this is a very interesting job because it's a very soft skills based job and very human interactive part of the job. Like we have to, of course, be in events, go to very specific sector specific seminars, events, like being very aware of the themes and problems that have to be solved in impact. So to take an example, when we're very interested here at INCO in circular economy, there's a lot of different actors in this sector, which are public, private, non-profit, for-profit, and we have to be aware of what's happening in these different worlds. This is a very interesting part of the job, but yeah, it's quite challenging. So this is the first the first of the three pillars of the job. So deal flow. The second is due diligence, and this is very specific to INCO because a lot of funds actually externalize this part. They choose to have generally consultants, strategy consultants, for example, who will scan through deals for them, who will yeah, spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks on a deal, assess how strategic it is for the investor to make the deal. We at INCO, we do it on ourselves. We don't have to actually don't ask consultants to do it for us. So we as we say in French, on met les mains dans le cambouis. We do the dirty job. Which is also challenging because it's a technical job. It's different from the first part of the job, deal flow and sourcing, because it's not about the network. It's more about being very technical about ratios, for example, how to look at different KPIs on growth, on churn, for example, when you're on a consumer startup or a SaaS platform. You have to go into the fine details of the business, but it's also what makes it very exciting. It's this technical part of the job. And the third thing, the third pillar is support, and I'd say this is generally what is the more you're senior in a fund, the more you get to do this. I didn't say it before, but sourcing is generally done by analysts, associates, like the more junior part of the team, and support is generally done by the senior members of the team, even if everyone is involved. And this is the part where you actually have to be on the ground, because the first two jobs are quite fancy in terms of being very intellectual. The third one can be very hard at times. For example, helping these things that we could do. For example, helping um, uh, um, a company do its reporting, financial reporting, because it was not done properly before. So this means going into becoming an accountant for a few weeks. um, so it's the part of the job where you have to wear very different hats, uh, if I may say, or different roles in the as an investor. Ben, do you think it's
Uh,
worth going deeper
I maybe have,
into? Yeah.
one first question about due diligence you talk about.
Yep.
Indeed, it's quite important in making deals, especially on innovative sectors. So my main point here would be to understand how do you concretely do it? Because obviously, INCO
Hmm.
makes investment in very various sectors. So
Hmm.
it's probably quite challenging to understand both SaaS companies, I don't know, real estate companies, industry
Yes.
companies. So how they do without any specialization to have a good understanding of it.
It's a very good question. Actually, there are generally two types of VCs: the VCs who are generalists, and the VCs who are specialists. Um, and it's a challenge. It's of course not easy to be an expert in every sector. It's actually impossible. But the good thing is that we bring very naive questions, and we come with an open mind in every sector that we look at. Um, and this allows us to really do fundamental analysis, if I may say, or very value-based analysis. Like, we don't come with the preconceived ideas when we look at companies. So this helps in a way. It's also a challenge when it comes to very specific or expert topics. And actually, what we do is actually not invest in things that we really don't understand. It's a rule for many investors, be it in VC or in other types of investments. Um, we try to stick to what we can understand, even not being experts. So, for example, there's a very big potential in, for example, blockchain or other very technical topics. But as we're not specialists, even if we think there's a potential for impact and profitability in these sectors, we will not always be up to the task for this. So we'll generally not look into that. So this is part of the question. We're not we cannot be experts in everything. So we try to bring an open mind and naive questions to make a good analysis, and then we just don't look into things that are too technical. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's very clear. My point is about one more point is about the scope of investment for INCO.
Hmm.
Um, So can you go further? Can you develop what kind of companies in terms of size, sectors, type of impact, everything, and
Yeah.
probably give me some example, please.
Yeah, I think that'd be very interesting to make things clearer. INCO, we are an impact investing fund. We only focus on companies that can have positive outcomes on people and the planet. We invest from the seed stage to Series B generally, to and we invest like we've invested as low as 100K before, and we invest up to 5 million. And our sweet spot is more around 1 million. I'd say we don't invest anymore in the very seed or pre-seed stage at very low tickets, like for example at 100K now. It's more like our minimum investment is more around 300 or 500 currently. And then we can invest up to 5 million. We have 80 companies in portfolio right now, and in sectors that are very different, because the common link is impact, but you can have impact in very different areas. Let me give you a few examples. Historically, we've been interested in companies related to job creation and what we call in French insertion, like how do you help people who struggle to have a job enter the job market. So for example, we've invested in Moulineau, which is a company that they actually collect waste, organic waste, by hiring chauffeurs, hiring drivers who are who didn't have a job before, so they help them get the license to be able to drive a big engine, and then they help them enter the job market. It's called an entreprise d'insertion in French. And they also have an environmental impact because they collect organic waste and then they compost it, or they make biogas out of it. So this is an example. Another example might be, for example, bringing to France some jobs that were before located in other areas. For example, in textile, we have a company which is called 1083, which actually manufactures jeans. It's one of the only manufacturers of textile in France that does jeans. So it has an environmental impact because it does not export clothes from very far, and it's a responsible way of making clothes too, because textile is a very dirty industry, unfortunately. Other examples might be, for example, Enercop, which is one of the biggest distributors of energy, of renewable energy in France, and it's a cooperative. It means that every customer holds a share of, or can hold a share of the company, and if this means that like the value that is created is also shared with all customers, not only for shareholders. And it's a company that has a very big growth, because today there's more than 100,000 people that or 100,000 families that that work with Enercop. Yeah, so these are a few examples in the portfolio.
Okay, thanks a lot. Can you maybe give us more? I don't know if you have some data and figures in your mind, but would you have some key figures, key data about the size of the portfolio of INCO? What is the different size
Yeah,
regarding sectors, regarding financial products, etc., to have a clear view of what you made?
yeah. Maybe the first thing I should say is that um, we're a schizophrenic investor, if I may say, or like we have two investment theses, really, because we actually invest in nonprofits too. We're an impact investor, which is impact first. So we don't only invest in shares in companies, in commercial companies. We also have stakes in nonprofits, NGOs, and foundations, which is very different from what a traditional VC can do. And so let me first say that our portfolio is maybe divided in two: companies where we're invested in capital, in shares, where we hold a stake, which also give us rights in the governance. And then those where we actually just contribute financially to, for example, nonprofits, NGOs, and foundations, which actually do not have shareholders. So that's why we don't actually participate in the governance in these companies. Um, so I'd say it's how if you want to give proportions between the two investment theses, it's half of our portfolio is made of nonprofits, foundations, cooperatives, and then the other half is companies where we hold shares. In terms of sectors, it's very wide. I don't have um, the numbers in mind, but it's quite evenly distributed between energy, textile, um, waste management, uh, tech, HR tech, handicap tech, for example. So I don't have the numbers in mind, but it's quite evenly distributed.
Okay, great. Okay, I have several questions, but maybe can you talk a bit with us about the mid and long-term strategy of INCO, or it's quite unclear regarding the current crisis?
Yeah, that's a very good question. What's for sure is that when we do impact, we're talking of very basic needs generally, and things that people and the planet will need with or without the crisis. So a very good example is that we're quite heavily invested in health, in be it medtech, biotech, um, accessibility tech. So these are things that will not go away. Like the crisis will not change the fact that people will need to access these services, and actually it might also make us more create new opportunities actually for impact investors like us. So our long-term strategy is really not changed. We focus on the same things that we have focused before. Of course, we have to be pragmatic. There are things that will change. Things that will change would be, for example, if it's a medium-term crisis that actually goes past a few months of confinement, it's going to be it's probable that the consumption patterns will change, and we have to be aware of that. But the long-term strategy is the same. We have to provide the basic services people need and the planet needs to fulfill our mission.
And what about your limited partners? Where do your money come from, and will it change in the future or no?
So we're specific. We have a specific structure in INCO because we have two open funds. Most VC funds are actually closed, and they raise. Sorry.
With a limited partnership.
Exactly, with the limited partnership. We at INCO, we actually have two open funds which are um, uh, does not have an end date. So it's a different way of working with limited partners. But let me tell you a bit more about them. So we have limited partners which are first more interested in impact than in profitability. Of course, we're gonna um, we're targeting to be profitable. That's for sure, and we try to and we actually until now we have respected our engagements. So that's for one, but we really try to select the partners which focus is on impact and not only on profitability. And our rates are below market. So this is something that is also worth to say, is that we don't promise the 15 or 25 or more than that IRRs. We don't promise that we're gonna be at the market level in terms of profitability, like on the same ground as traditional VCs or private equity firms. We're more in the below tens area, below tens of IRR area. So this and the consequence of that is that our partners are generally long-term investors, which and examples are what is that called? Insurance companies, yeah, insurance companies, mutuals, mutuel. I don't know the English word for that, but it's like insurance companies, but in a very specific organization, which actually are part of the social economy. They're not only for-profit companies. Some banks, pension funds, French pension funds. They're not the same. They're not organized the same way as international pension funds. It's what we call caisse de retraite complémentaire. It's a very specific French type of investor. And then we have banks from the social economy too. So banks which are organized as cooperatives, as crédit coopératif.
Yeah, we will meet Cyril Langerdorf very soon.
Okay. Okay, great.
This digital trip.
So so yeah, our limited partners, if we had to be short on this, they're institutionals, not private investors. They're focused on impact as much as profitability, and they're generally long-term investors.
And when thanks for your answer, but you talk about, okay, they are promoting impact before profits.
Mm-hmm.
What is the profitability of your investment in general, of your portfolio in particular? Is it profitable or not, and to what extent, if it is?
Yeah, so it's a bit early to say, as we don't have closed funds. We don't have like a specific date where we can say it's profitable or not. Like we started investing in 2013. Our investment length is generally 7 years, so actually 5 to 7 years. We're patient investors, so normally we should be in our first exits right now, and we have done a few. I can talk about the exits we have done are quite good. We have exited, for example, part of our stake in Phoenix, which is an app that enables supermarkets and people to have less food waste, which actually is growing very, very fast. And we had a very good multiple on this, multiple that is above 4. We have exited Nature Tech or Net Tech, which does MOOCs, massive open courses, massive online open courses, on a very good multiple too. So yeah, we're seeing the first exits are very good. But it's quite early because yeah, we started in 2013. Our length is 7 years, so 2020 is the first year where we're supposed to exit more companies.
Okay, you talk about exit, which is of course a key point in making private equity investment. So you both have deals for NGOs and for firms. So we mainly talk here about firms. What are the main exits for the INCO's company? Is it more trade sales, IPO? If you sell your shares to other private equity funds or VC or impact investing funds? Can you give us some insight, please?
Actually, we're quite agnostic on the way to exit the companies. The main focus here again is that the exit enables the impact does not cancel, if I may say, the impact that we've created for all these years. So like there's no preferred way to exit our companies. The exit we've done, one is a trade sale. There's a bigger fund, another impact investing fund based in the UK, which has bought a part of our share, our stake in the company. This is for Phoenix. And then for the other one I talked about, what happened is they had a great deal proposition, an offer from a leader in the training sector, la formation, which wants to digitalize its strategy. And it was completely in line with the impact we had in mind, because it's a training company that is really focused on low skill jobs. And this is something that we thought it was interesting to add to the company strategy, to have this focus on those skill jobs.
Okay, clear, very clear, thanks. A huge part of the students which are watching the video are students very focused and with passion for CSR and impact. So probably they have question about how do you build some impact metrics? How at the portfolio level, not at a firm level, but at portfolio level, you are able to merge, to compare, to you see what I mean, to deal with key issue, key difficult to have a CSR and impact metrics.
Yeah, this is one of the things we're most proud of. We have created our own methodology of impact measurement very soon, when we started investing, as soon as we started investing, which is called INCO ratings. We then refined this methodology working with two of the biggest actors in France, in the economy in general, not in impact, which are Caisse des Dépôts, which is the investment arm for the state, and BNP Paribas, which is the biggest French bank and one of the biggest banks in the world, which we work together to come with a methodology that enables us to measure and compare impact in our different portfolios, in our 3 portfolios. And the methodology is called MESIS. It's actually very basic and common sense, because we're trying to observe changes or consequences of our actions in the lives of people and the planet, and the situation of the planet. So what we do is, every time we fund the company, we try to see together what are the changes that will happen in the lives of people and the state of the planet, thanks to the startup or the NGO. We come with a business plan, a social business plan, to have objectives for the next few years, not only to focus on financial metrics or operational KPIs, but also on impact KPIs. And then every year we gather and we talk about these KPIs, and we see how they've met or not their targets. And then to compare if the targets were ambitious or not enough, we have the benchmarks. We actually, since we have 80 companies in our portfolio, and our partners also have a very wide variety of companies, we're able to create averages, sector averages for each of the indicators we measure. And there are 400 indicators that we've come up with to measure the wide variety of impacts. Yeah, and so once we have these sector averages, we're able to say, okay, the objectives we have set for this company are ambitious or not ambitious enough. We should be at this level or at this level. It's of course not a science. It's more an art than a science, because these are things that are difficult to observe. Like when you talk about how I don't know, education has improved opportunities of a child at age 6. It's very hard to be able to say, okay, at age 40 he will earn 2,000 euros more than what he would have earned if he had not had the education we provided. So, so of course it's not perfect. It's challenging. Once more, that it's not an easy job. But yeah, we try to be rigorous about it, and at least have these KPIs and report on them very regularly.
Okay, okay, clear, thanks. Maybe one last question before talking about Paris Impact Investing, um, about INCO specifically, is about the companies you invested in.
Mhm,
And to what extent, which is a key question beyond impact investing in general for
mhm.
VCs, it's picking top companies or building them? Are you more focused on the selection of companies with a lot of impact, or you are more focusing more general companies, but giving them a lot of support and coaching and help for beginning very
Mhm.
positive impact? You see what I mean? This
Yeah,
trade.
yeah, exactly. Actually, a bit of both. Actually, we're quite opportunistic on that. Um, um, we look at the companies who have the biggest potential for impact, be it already apparent, or it can also be a potential which is not apparent yet. However, we will not invest in a company whose leaders, whose entrepreneurs have do not share this vision.
Mhm.
So, um, if we see an opportunity, for example, I can give an example. We had a company in the industrial sector, which actually does, which is a sub, what is that called? That works for luxury brands like Chanel, to make products, leather products. They're an industrial partner of big luxury brands to make leather products. So this does not have a very big impact. We can also say it has a negative impact on the environment. However, there was a vision on how we could create hundreds of jobs, not only dozens, but hundreds of jobs in an area which was very in crisis, which was in crisis before, and the entrepreneur had shared the same vision and was very keen on working on this opportunity of creating social impact and training the people he was going to hire, and specifically looking for people who were not who had not no opportunities before. So this is an example where we focus on the potential of the impact of the company, and we help the company going through that. But I'd say most of the portfolio, this is more of an exception than the rule. Most of the portfolio is like entrepreneurs who already have an impact strategy in place, which is very apparent.
Okay, clear. Thanks for that. Maybe in the next 5 minutes, Omar,
Hmm.
you can talk with us about Paris Impact Investing, the NGO you are leading.
Hmm.
Uh, what are the objectives? What they do? What is the future? Yeah. Can you and also
Yeah.
what are the trends on impact investing you are an observer?
Yeah, a quick word on the association. It started with a very simple observation, which is actually there's different kinds of impact investors. Some are philanthropists, others are clean tech VCs, for example, which actually did not know about a lot about impact, or the vocabulary of impact before the emergence of the movement, and which were focused on the environment primarily. There are other types which are like solidarity finance, which is a sector that has emerged in the 80s in France, which is actually predates impacts. We talked about this even before the first impact investors called themselves so in the 2000s. And these solidarity finance, they focus on traditional types of impact with the cooperatives, foundations, things like that. So we wanted to bring together all these people because we were a group of people who came from these different worlds. And what we did is first organize conferences. So generally a few conferences a year, maybe 3 or 4. And then we started publishing research because we all had jobs. Like no one is full time on the association. We're all trying to contribute beside our jobs. So we're very interested in the topic. So when we research, we wanted to share it with the public. So that's why we have a few publications on the state of the ecosystem in France. One publication you may have seen is the list of impact investors in France and Europe, which I can send to Ben if you want the link. Yeah, and the third thing we do is actually being in touch with the different investors, impact investors, to maybe help them find deal flow, help them have an eye on what's happening in the ecosystem here in France and outside in Europe. So this is a quick presentation of what the association does.
Okay, great. So it's a very precious point of view, a very nice perspective to have a look on the French and European trends in impact testing. So what are your understanding? What do you see now on this specific market? What are the news? What are the current trends, etc.?
Yeah, this is a very interesting topic. The first thing we should say is that France is actually a very advanced market. Like we could think the opposite. Like when I first came into the sector, I thought the like the UK and US were really advanced on impact investing. But the thing is, in France, we actually have a sector that predates all of the impact movement, which is the solidarity finance, which actually helped a lot of institutional investors know what we're talking about before other countries. And actually, the solidarity finance converted themselves, like the actors converted themselves to impact, and this makes the market very rich and very vibrant in France. So the first thing we should say. Now the trend is in a lot of countries are actually seeing very big growth in impact investments. One thing we should say is that we're really focused on VC in France. When we talk about impact investing, we often talk about VC. The thing is, VC has a business model that is very strange. It is different from other financing vehicles and other impact opportunities. The thing is, in other countries, impact can be larger than that. Like when we talk about impact investing in the US, project finance is an example of other vehicle or other ways of creating impact. In talking about impact, for example, there are other ways are the outcome-based financings, like for example the social impact bonds, which are ways to finance an initiative without taking stakes, without investing in capital in them. And on this trend, like what we can see is that France is a bit behind compared to the UK or the US on this, even if we're starting to see more and more social impact bonds in France. Yeah, so these are a few trends. I'd say that what is for sure is that it's a growing market. We have more and more assets coming to the game, and it's promising. I'm sure the growth will not slow down before long.
Okay. Well, it's a promising point of view and exciting point of view. So, thanks, Omar. Maybe I don't know if you have some complementary things to say, but we are close to the end of our discussion. So, do you have any compliments to add, or it's okay for the message you wanted to share with our students?
Well, I am very happy to have chatted with you. If there are any questions, I can answer to. I can send a few answers to that. I don't like we've covered a lot of ground, so nothing more to add to that.
Okay, thanks a lot, Thomas. So yeah, I will share if you are okay with that. I will share to the student your email address
Hmm.
if they have some specific question, or if they want to apply for
Yeah,
internship
of course.
to INCO, because some of our past students have been interns in INCO
Yes,
a few months ago.
and
So
we were
and
very happy to have them.
yeah, good, good to hear that. And yeah, if you have very specific question, of course, I think you will be very open to reply. So thanks a lot, Omar. It was very nice to share with us a nice moment and very instructive discussion. So thank you very much, and see you all, students. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.